Hello, everyone. Jake, thank you for the brief introduction. It was great. Once again, my name is Pavol Kováč. I'm at Komerční bank, and I'm here to speak about distributed development, the transition we got from old banking system to the new one. So let's get cracking. Does anybody recognize this picture? From which movie it is? Give me the guess. No? No, Dune? Space Odyssey 2001. Thank you. This picture perfectly represents our old banking system. It's a monolith. It means that it really, it is nice, it is big, it's robust, and the front end and back end and all the domains are mixed together in a very nice form. Next thing it got in common with the current banking is that it was the current banking, the old banking was created 2001, so it's 22 years old. It's very solid. And it has been working very well for past 20 years. It's not, well, it's not supported by monkeys, of course, like on this picture. Regarding the old banking, what we really wanted is its time has gone to the end. We were thinking like, what can we do better? And we found some motivations. For example, we wanted to better the time to market. Time to market means the time from the product owner got an idea and it's delivered to the client. With old banking, it took 3 months. It was really, really long. And we want to deliver new functionality all the time, like several times a day. So that was the one motivator. Next motivator was that we want to have the best customer experience ever. So it's not just about the UX and UI, it got also more parameters. The next thing we wanted to do is product digitalization. What that means? How many of you got the experience with branch offices? Do you like to go to the branch office and, for example, set up the current account? Of course not. And it was perfectly visible during COVID periods. Nobody wants to go there. So we needed to change our products, make them more like digitalized and offer that to our customers. And we simply could not do that with current solutions. It would be kind of difficult. Of course, there are more motivations. I can speak about it later. If we break down these motivators, it boils down to the fast time to market, which really implies distributed development. Because originally, the old banking was maintained by one huge team, and now we wanted many teams to work on that. And regarding the best customer experience, it also means, for example, we wanted to provide the best performance. I mean, customer would not be really happy if the banking system is slow. We want to provide resilience. What that means? If the banking system is a monolith, it means that if monolith is down, the whole banking is down. So we want to split that into several independent parts, and if one part is down, the rest is still functional. High availability, that's very important keynote. High availability means that no more we want our clients to have weekends without internet banking. Because quarterly release really took like the whole weekend for a team of 100 people. It was really, really bad that time, so that was our motivator to change it. So what that means, monolithic architecture is on the left side. On the right side, you can see the microservices architecture. That was our primary goal, to split that. It sounds really straightforward, doesn't it? But in the end, how to split a monolith? Well, in simple terms, you really cannot do that because it's monolith. I mean, if you take just one part and try to put it somewhere else as an independent service, you fail. You feel real miserable. And we actually tried it several times, but it was not the way. So when we had to decide between revolution and evolution, we decided to go with revolution and change not just the internet banking, but the whole company on all levels. Basically, we've done a cultural change. Evolution would mean that we would still stick with the old monolith and do it somehow, refactor it, change something, but it wouldn't go well in the long term. But first, before we started to develop, we have to change our organization. We have to do our homework. What does that mean? Firstly, the organization change. It means that, do you know Conway's Law? How many of you have already heard about that? Okay, I see a couple of hands. Great. Basically, I can read it, but any organization that designs a system will produce a design whose structure is a copy of the organization's communication structure. I wouldn't formulate that better myself. Basically, we took the domain model of the whole bank. There are payments, there are loans, savings, and so on. As you can see, lots of them. And we built teams around them. And this change really simplified everything because according to Conway's Law, this will be really reflected into our architecture. And we wanted our architecture to be simplest. We wanted to have the least integrations, the least communication, because we don't want to have it really complex. So this was one change on the organizational level. Then our preparations were on the technical side. We really had to prepare some platforms because when you got a team which is really eager to develop, let's say payment team, they need to have something to start with. They cannot like do the greenfield. So during the period from concept till the kickoff, the concept started around the year 2019. It was around 1.5 years, and we had some time to prepare the platforms. One platform we are really proud of is Speed, and another one is Fast. Platform Fast is basically for front ends. It's basically wrapped around Angular framework, and the team can really start with that. It got a pipeline. There is a lot of automatization, and the team can start develop basically directly. And another platform is Speed. Speed platform is basically about infrastructure. The team gets the whole setup of environment. The team will get some microservice to start with. It is really convenient, and basically we found that's the only way to provide a quick start. But we got the front end, we got the back end, and we need to something to put it together. So we need to do our homework on the architectural side. We need to prepare the security for the bank, and you can imagine that the bank should be really secure, so we put a lot of effort into that. We also prepared some high-level, low-level architecture. This was done before we started. And to test it all together, we created a model. It was end-to-end model. Basically, it was a sample application when we put what we prepared for front end, back end, put it together, test all our frameworks, all our concepts, patterns, and we failed. We failed several times before we started, before we ended with the final model. It is very important to fail fast. Do not wait for failing later, because it's not that cheap, and it will slow you down. So basically, this model was very important, and it pushed us really forward. Now we got the platform teams, and our experience is that what is platform teams in comparison with communities? Well, everybody knows community. There is a group of people, they are working on one artifact. It can be a piece of documentation, piece of code, or anything. And it's more or less voluntarily. They don't have budget, they don't have a product owner, and then so on. With platform teams, it could work, but now the trend is really with platform teams to treat them like the product teams. They got product owner, they should have a backlog, because they got lots of artifacts actually. They got team, the team is working on the code, the team is providing standards, the team is really helping on the support line. That's very important, because teams which are using platform will very often go to find any problems, and they need some help. So we need to find some and set up good communication channels with users of those platforms. So the takeaway is that platform teams should really work like product teams. This is the approach that we really recommend. So now going back to the single point, single business team view. So I'm a product owner. I got my team, I got my backlog, and I can start developing because I got everything ready. I know how to work with front end. I know how to set up a back end. I know my own business logic because this is what I inherited when we split the organization according to domains. I'm an independent on each other, on other teams. However, of course, there are some communication lines, but they are not that complex, and I know what to do. And in terms of front end, I got my own portion of front end which I have to develop. So what does that mean? How we decide to split the front ends? Well, it's a good question because if you can imagine that lots of screens got really heterogeneous content. I mean, there is something from payment, something from other domains, something from customer. And how to split it? I mean, should we do that according to widgets? So on one screen, there will be like 3 owners. Should we do that according to screens or else? Well, we decided to split the whole front end according to screen to define direct ownership, very strict one. So every team got basically a set of customer journeys they need to develop. For example, to create a current account, there is lots of screens there. And the team owns the screens and corresponding backend. The association is it's like one-to-one. One screen communicates directly just with one backend. There is no orchestration, it really simplifies. There is no business logic in front end. And it's very easy to blame someone if there is a problem because support directly can tell like who's to blame, which team, because there is a low complexity. There are 2 models actually we considered. First one is fully distributed development, which means that the teams are working on the front end, but there is no supervisor. I mean, they need to collaborate together to produce the perfect front end. They can use the platforms, and in theory, it should be sufficient. Another approach is to have a supervisor. It's called federated development. And in the beginning, we were really trying to go with the fully distributed development. There was no supervisor, and we hope that the team will just somehow work. Well, we run into some problems. For example, one problem is that front end, even though we are able to split the monolith into small parts, we are really not able to split the front-end monolith because front ends, by their nature, are monoliths. Maybe you heard of micro front ends. It's a pretty new trend. We already try to investigate like whether it is suitable for us, whether the technology is mature enough. However, the front end still appeared to be pretty monolithic. The technologies were not sufficient. So that's why we decided to treat it the way it's a monolith from our point of view. Which means that there is one CI/CD pipeline that built the whole front end, and we cannot release to the App Store just one small portion of the application. We always need to release the full one. So the question is, who will sit on the CI/CD pipeline? It's only one. I mean, there is no CI/CD pipeline for front end. So that's why we decided to go with one supervisor, which is the channel team. Channel, in banking terminology, is basically a channel to customer. For us, it is our mobile application and our web application. Those are channels. So the channel platform team is basically on top of FAST, our front-end framework, and it provides some additional, let's say, functionality services to other teams. It basically owns the front-end code. This is the first part. It defines standards so other teams can contribute to those teams, to this code base. It also there is a group of centralized group of experts, and these experts can really help other teams because frankly the maturity of other teams, if they got just 1 or 2 developers, may not be the greatest. sometimes they got really like, let's say, weaker team, and they need to provide some more guys. So this channel team provides capacity management for other teams as well. It maintains standards, it maintains centralized pipeline, and it orchestrates releases. What that means? Basically, it sits on the CI/CD pipeline, and when there is a time to go to production, at the moment we're doing that once a week, this team really coordinates all the efforts. They put together all the Jira tickets, they put together, they make sure that it's really everything is tested, everything is penetration testing has been done, and so on. So the quality is adhered to, and only then it can go to production. So this team is basically one of the most important teams in terms of front end. Of course, it's a platform team. It does not provide really the business functionality. However, we decided that for our home screen, the most complex screen, which is very difficult to find an owner, this team will provide support for that. It will own it. We got even more platforms. One platform we are really proud of is our KB design system. Maybe you heard of design guide. It's something very similar. It's basically a huge document when you can see where it is, like which fonts you should use, which colors, and so on. It's just a document. However, with design system, we decided to go even further, and it's a library of ready-to-use components. We got several platforms, iOS, Android, we got web platform based on Angular. So when a team wants to start developing a new screen, they don't really have to worry about like how a button should look like. They simply take the component from the library and they can really use it. It's really ready to use. The whole design system is basically the graphical representation in Figma, the documentation in Confluence, and the components in Git all together. And once you got it, your development of front end is really quick. And also the redesigns. Since we started, we redesigned like 4 times already, and it was really cheap. So this is the approach I would really recommend. And how does it look in practice? Basically, on this screen, you can see that you can select. You want to design a button, you take the color, you take the font, you take the icon, and you can put it all together very easily and create a single button. So from atoms, we basically set up more complex components, organisms, and patterns. This is how the current product, our new internet banking or mobile banking, looks like right now. Its name is KB Plus. Maybe you heard about that. It's our crown jewel of our bank, and it's still in development. We are adding more and more functionality to that. But with the setup you just seen, it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy to add a new functionality. The teams are really focusing on their business. They are not spending time with anything else. Of course, in terms of agility, there might be some room for improvement. However, there is always kind of limitation. I mean, we wanted to try something more agile. However, the technology says otherwise, and we need to like compromise. But we are really proud of what we accomplished right now. That would be all. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions? Yes? Okay, each team got its own testers. There is a palette of testers, and they are grouped into testing COE, Center of Expertise. And the Center of Expertise is basically dictating or setting up the standards of how the testing should look like. And all the testers they know like how to test it properly and so on. But testing got like several levels, like front-end testing, back-end testing, testing on developer level, penetration testing. So we test really a lot within the bank.
And also production?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Once per week this release, yeah?
Yes. Well,
Before release?
we got just one integrated environment. We call it stage environment. And on this environment, we test everything. It's like our pre-pro. There is no other environment before production. Yeah, and we use feature flags for releasing. Maybe you should be aware of that. Hmm? Yes?
Yeah, so thank you. This really resonated with us because almost like you described what we do in our back home in Norway. So that was interesting. A lot of the same concepts. But did I understand correct that you said you have like 30 or so feature teams, but they're not able to do releases at their own pace? And
Yes.
when they want us to do it, we have to go through the...
Well, frankly speaking, the backend part is released independently. They can do releases anytime they want. But the front-end part is monolith. The release is orchestrated. So I would separate it.
They are not allowed to make deployments. They can release.
Yes, of course. If you separate deployment from releasing, it's like two other things.
But you're aiming for more frequent releases, I guess?
Well, at the moment, it's not a priority. At the moment, we are quite happy with as it is right now. But of course, later we want to speed it even more. Right now, we got priorities elsewhere. Later, I'm really happy to share experience with you if you got something similar. Yes?
I can imagine you were under pressure for a board of SG and so on, but you managed it. So can you tell us something more about what's behind the scene, what's your technical debt, and so on? Because it looks like, but let's
I mean, like from technical standpoint, like which technologies do we use, or?
No, what's your technical debt, or is there anything you haven't finished and you know it because I think it was.
Okay, well, basically those micro front ends would be really nice if we adopt them. However, like 1 year back when we investigated that, we were not really happy with what we found. So this is something we want to reiterate later. So this is one part of technical debt. Then we want to speed up some pipelines because our pipelines are pretty complex. It's not just about the building code, but running lots of tests. It takes time. There are also some integration testing and so on, and we need to speed it up. It would really help the development. Even though the code is, the microservices are small, the front end is just one. So this is some of our debt.
So far, applications like new core system is running smooth.
Of course, I mean, some part, it's a greenfield project mostly, but some part we really like both. For example, our card system it was purchased because we didn't want to develop it from scratch, and our core banking system. So this is something we just adopt, and the rest we developed. You had a question?
Maybe if you can a little bit more elaborate how you coordinate your teams, or synchronize the teams, or prevent the dependencies. So I don't know how many teams was involved. But
Okay.
How you manage and coordinate the teams, because I assume that there was plenty of teams involved to deliver the whole stuff. So how?
Yes, the perfect question. I'll try to answer it briefly. I mean, we got something between 25 and 30 teams at the moment, and we are onboarding more. So the collaboration between them, it's kind of difficult. Okay, if they got their own customer journeys, so they should be pretty independent on each other, and they should work on their business logic. And if they got dependencies, they need to like collaborate with other teams. We got some synchros and so on. I mean, this is really difficult topic. I doubt that I will be able to answer it right now, but we can have a coffee afterwards.
That would be nice.
Yes?
I was just wondering if there's anything still that's not quite working, how you'd like it to, or you want to change.
Okay. It's not working from technical point of view or ways of working. Definitely there is something. Sorry?
You're still in path, you still improve.
Yeah, I mean,
Sure,
we're-
testing and coordination.
okay, maybe, yeah, coordination, some testing can be improved even more.
Communication between the teams.
Yeah, something like that. This lady over here is my boss, actually, so she knows everything about that. Yeah, I cannot come up with anything like concrete. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean the most crucial pain points I think we pretty handled. So, and the rest is not that critical. We are at the moment in the stage when we are adding more and more business logic. So it's very difficult because we also want to do the innovation, and it goes against it. You want more business logic and also some innovations, and you cannot do it at once. So once we add lots of business logic there, incorporate all the products the bank is offering, then we will focus more on innovations even more. Yes?
Similar to what this gentleman was asking, and now you've got front-end teams, you've got back-end teams, but maybe features cross over both, and how do you coordinate actually releasing the full value across both front-end and back-end teams? I know you mentioned feature toggles, for example, so you can wait till all's been done.
Yes.
There's been a few talks today about how splitting that can cause, one team does it sprint 1, another team does it sprint 10. How do you avoid those kind of scenarios?
Okay, I'll try to answer. So basically, yeah, we are using feature toggles, as you mentioned, on the front end, mostly on front end. And basically, feature toggles are separating the deployment from releasing, and it allows us, the team can develop the functionality on their own pace. And this is really crucial. Without that, I cannot imagine, without trunk-based development and feature flags, I really cannot imagine working. I mean, it would be really, really hard. And this really allows us to speed it up. I'm not quite. Can you please repeat that question, maybe?
Well, that enables you to sort of like make sure everything's ready to go at one point. You can flick the switch and then.
Yeah, I mean there is a whole process of releasing. I mean, releasing is just flipping the switch, and this process you can flip the switch only if you are sure that everything is tested, everything is deployed, everything is penetration tested. So basically, it's ready to be released. So deployment, it's easy. You just deploy it, and it's really hidden behind the switch. But the releasing is the crucial point.
It's more about managing the work across the teams, because if you end up with, say, with the front-end team starting their work on a feature at, say, kind of January, but the back-end team don't complete their work in
Yes.
July, do you end up with the front-end team completing their work by February, parking it, moving on to something else, and then the back-end team only really realising that work much later in the year?
Okay, well, the teams should be, when they're working on the same thing, they should be aware of each other, of course. And I think thanks to feature toggles, you can achieve that. The feature toggles also are used on the backend, so I can enable the functionality only after I'm sure that the systems behind that are really deployed in the correct versions and it works together. So we use feature toggles to this way. Yes?
What level are you doing priorities? Is it on like the 13 level, or is it on a whole platform level? Or?
Yeah, good question. I mean, we've done the agile transformation. It means that our priorities go from board, but those priorities are really like high level. They are not doing micromanagement as it was before, but right now, I mean, these goals are then split into objective increments, and it boils down to the teams, and the teams then are able to set up the goals which go towards the primary goals of the whole bank. Yes, please.
You mentioned that the one of the main goals was to improve time to market. So what time was process of your changing model into microservices? How long time did you take it, and how improved your time to market?
Okay, we started 2019, but it was just idea formulation that we want to do that. The real work started, the kickoff was in October 2020. And we went to production, I think 8 months ago. 6 months ago approximately. So that is the primary timeline. And how we improve time to market? Well, basically, since time to market with our old internet banking is like 3 months, so we improved it rapidly because now it's 1 week.
What about the legacy monolith? Is there still any development going on, or there is a change freeze?
Yes, of course, we need to reduce the development there. I mean, still we are implementing some mandatory requirements from our regulators and so on, but we cannot afford like to do the big development on both sides. So we really, the whole bank is focusing on the new digital bank, only the new banking.
And the developers who work on the new system are the same who work on the monolith, or it is a new team?
Well, some of them were offered this opportunity to go to the new teams, but many had to stay to support the old monolith. So it's like 50-50.